And welcome back to I'm Every Woman TV. I know that some of you women might be having issues with your common law partner or your legal spouse or even a boyfriend, and you're going through some kind of breakup, separation, or divorce. And I also know how hard it can be because of the emotional feelings and the other things that you might have to deal with, like accountants, mediators, arbitrators, lawyers, what have you. So I have been wanting to cover a topic like this, women in divorce, for some time, and I've invited divorce doula Lynn Kaplan to come in and share her expertise on this very subject. So welcome, Lynn.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you, Janette.
Very nice to meet you too, Lynn. Lynn, what exactly is a divorce doula, and how did you come to be one?
So a divorce doula is somebody who is educated in family law and in family mediation and in parenting coordination, family arbitration, that can help and support and empower and educate a woman through the process of separation and divorce. So anywhere from the emotional components very much to the logistical components of it, helping them figure out the legal aspects of it, helping them learn how to work with their lawyer, find mortgage brokers, find property assessors, evaluators, all different components to it.
Well, yes, because I think when a woman is going through this type of change in her life or transition, there are a lot of things to consider. You know, the least of which is also suddenly being a single parent.
Yes.
Suddenly being single again and getting your life back on track. And even like things like, you know, how do you negotiate? How do you ask for what you want when you're not used to asking for what you want? Because a lot of women aren't.
And sometimes it'll be, I don't want them to, their father to have the children. And I'll sit down with them and say to them, let's first talk about, is he a good father? Because if he's a good father, like what happened with you two may not be what has to go on with the children. So it has to, so I work with them, Janette, to say, let's look at the circumstances. Let's figure out what you need, what you deserve legally. First of all, to know what you deserve legally. And then to work from there and say, what do you want? What do I deserve legally? What do I think will be the best for me and my children, and how, and manage those all together. So where some women will say that I'm going to go to mediation. That's, you know, it's going to be amicable. We're going to go through mediation. And I'm like, well, have you mediated before? Do you know how to mediate? There will be a mediator there helping you. But first you really need to sit down and figure out, what do I want before I go into mediation? And to be able to manage that, and also working with your lawyer. What do I want, and how do I work with the lawyer so that when I go in there, I know what questions to ask.
Right,
and
because it's knowing the right things to ask.
Being also educated.
I think that something that's really important to note is that oftentimes when we're affected or newly affected by the whole divorce thing, was there cheating or whatever, the anger takes over. And we're not thinking practically, because, you know, we're not going to get everything that we want, right? We do need to negotiate and give up and even prioritize. I think that's where we really
I think that's a really good word, is prioritizing.
And how can you know, really help a woman to prioritize and make sure that she does get what she wants without, you know, going deep into the anger? Because, you know, when the anger takes over, that doesn't get you what you want. You have to think with a clear head.
I say, for one example that I think rings really true with so many women that I work with, is something will happen that will really set them off. Like, let's say that the child's jacket doesn't come home from the dad's house and it's a cold day the next day. And they'll be furious and angry, and it'll bring up this huge picture of everything that is wrong with this child's father. And they'll obviously just want to rant it all out and put out all that anger. But I'll say to them, listen, what do you want? What do you really want? I want the jacket to come back. I said, so take out the anger on me. Send me that email, write that email, send it to me, or put it in your drafts and never send it. But let's figure out how to work with the personality. We do a lot of working on who you are and who they are. The more you know them really well, I say you know them really, really well. So let's figure out what motivates them. What's going to motivate them to just send that jacket every day? Or sometimes is it just going to have to be that you're going to have to send that text reminder, how to manage that anger. Sometimes take out that anger on me. I can handle it. We'll vent it. Let's talk about it. But it's not going to get you what you want.
And is it because they're really angry about the jacket, or is this reminiscent of some other issue?
Oh, it's so reminiscent of everything else.
Emotions.
It aggravates the emotions. So let's try to do things that get rid of the emotions. If you have 5 jackets, if you've gone and not spent a ton of money and gotten 5 jackets or 5 pairs of boots, then it's like, oh, I'm just pulling out the next jacket, and it's ridiculous that you have to do it, but in the same tone, you get through the winter and you're not as frustrated. So that's what I say is maybe some things seem ridiculous that you're doing it, but what's going to bring your stress levels down? Because you need to bring your stress levels down, especially as a single parent, because
yes,
you need to be able to really be emotionally supporting yourself and supporting your children. And even if you don't have children, the grief that you go through and supporting yourself through it, you need to bring those stress levels down.
So let's talk a little bit about that. How does parenting change when you become a single parent? And what are the things you need to know to support the kids through the divorce too, because they're going through it too, or the separation, not just you?
Yeah. I think that it's very individual. I think every family is really individual. And I think that's one thing that people really need to understand, is that what works for another family that might be 1 week on, 1 week off with your children may not work for your family, may not work for your kids. Your kids may want to really be in one bed every night. They may want to just go on the weekend. So you really need to sit down and say, you know, I've read a million books, or I've looked at this and the other, but what is my family really going to need, and what do I need to do? And also the idea that you may, in the marriage, if things weren't going well for a while, you may not have been co-parenting. So the whole process of how are you going to be making decisions with your partner, your ex-partner, about the children. And one thing that I always say to my clients is, when they're working with me, they'll be generally working with a separation agreement. And I'll say, you know, all the stuff in your separation agreement, which is going to talk about who carries the passports, who takes the kids to the doctors, who does this, what the financials are, all of that. I said, that's going to be laid out. But the one thing that you need to have the strongest in your separation agreement is something called your dispute resolution agreement. Because that is how you're going to move forward and work with your disputes. And there's going to be disputes. Every family has disputes about their children. So to have it very strongly laid out as to if we are not agreeing with something, what is the process for us to come to an agreement? And that is really what's going to carry you forward. You may have little kids, you get a separation agreement, and you're still going to be using that dispute resolution agreement when your children are 17, 18, 19, going to university. Kind of thing. And
how do you handle the children? Like, they're going to be upset. Mm-hmm. They may not agree with all the decisions. They may be giving you grief too, or acting out. How do you handle that and not make it feel like it's, you know, it's about them, right? Because you don't want to cause more turmoil also in their emotional state.
So I think a key component is, and what's really important and frowned upon by the courts or by anybody, is alienating the other parent. So if you're aggravated with the other parent, you really need to find that inner self and inner strength to not alienate the other parent from your children. And really trying to I say it's making quiet time with your kids. I think it's really connecting with your children. And that's a hard thing to say, because let's say you may have to be working more hours, or you weren't working before, you were an at-home mother, and now you're working and getting everybody around, or you're the one that's taking everybody to their soccer or to their gymnastics or art classes or different things, and you're not getting that support and help as much, then it's really important to try to find that time to have really good quality quiet time with your kids. I am a strong proponent, and I'll say to anybody, go read articles on the importance of family dinners. And that means,
Oh, yeah.
you are a family,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah,
are
the
now a family.
Family dinners
dinners
don't
is
always take place anymore.
right,
And
right,
they need to take
right.
place.
And
They're
then the
very
other
important.
thing I say, which is really key, is when your kids go to their father's house, I think something that's so wonderfully delicious for your children emotionally and physically, although that is a time that you need to take and rejuvenate and take care of yourself, but you cook or bake for your kids and they come home and there's something sweet, nicely baked for them, and they know that you were thinking about them, and you know that you were doing something for your kids while they were away for your children. And I think that that's little moments and little things like that really help you connect with them.
And I'm also thinking about managing the bitterness. Like you can't play a blame game and have the kids take sides, because it's really not
can't
fair
do
to
that.
the children.
Yeah.
You know,
It doesn't help you. It doesn't help you. It doesn't
but
help
a lot
your
of women
children.
do want that. They want to
Yeah.
enlist. They want it to be like, this happened to me, and they want to enlist the children's support for them to hate their father. And like, what's your comment on that? Because I don't think that that's such a good thing.
I think that it's completely normal to feel that way, but you can't do it. Like, you need to say to myself, I can feel this. And if you need to go and talk to somebody about it, I am legitimately feel this. I absolutely feel this, but I cannot do this. It's not going to help my children. I'm going to be paying for years of therapy, or my kids are going to be paying for years of therapy if they have to go through that. You can't do it. And it's one thing that really, honestly, the courts really don't like it. Like,
Yeah,
that's
they frown
something
upon it.
that, so they know, and any child psychologist, anybody, any book you read, it's so hard. And I say, feel it, know it, but you can't do it.
Okay, so we're running a little bit short on time, and I want to make sure that we get a few things in. The first thing is, how do you retain friends and family after the breakup? Because a lot of the time we have, as women, formed friendships with our sister-in-law, our mother-in-law, and you know, we have couple friends, and you need the support, but now they're sort of caught between the two of you. How do you retain that? How do you make it work for you?
It's really challenging. I think that it's a time where you need to think to yourself, who are the people that are the most important, that are going to be there by my side? If there's in-laws, then you need to know that you probably won't be able to talk about things and be as honest about things, but do you want to still get together with the kids with things and kind of keep that separation? With your friends, your close friends and your family, definitely you need to vent, you need to get it out there, you need to have that support. But what I say to women is, you need me, because I can give you, your friends and your family are going to say, he's awful, he's awful, he's awful. That's what they do. And they're supporting you. That's their way of supporting you generally. And that's what they should be doing. But if you're working with me, amongst other things, I'll say, as I said before, is he such a terrible dad? Or if he can't remember to do things and can't remember to get them to school on time or different things, how are we going to work with him so he can? Because the kids are going to be going.
Right.
So let's figure out a way to make it work.
And the truth is, okay, he's awful, he's awful. The fact is, when a marriage breaks, there's two people involved in it that made it break. And it may be very easy to say he's awful, but I think it's also very important for a woman to take a good look in the mirror and realize her part in the demise of the relationship. Because it takes two to tango, it also takes two to separate.
Sometimes I don't even need to go there with women. It doesn't matter. It's more of, as I've said a couple times in this interview, is he good with the kids? If he's good with the kids, they need to be with him. And also, you're going to need your time by yourself. So how do you manage that? You need a break. You need time to rejuvenate.
You do.
And so there's different levels of it. Yes, if he really is awful, then no, they shouldn't be going. And there's protocol for that. That will be legally can happen with that.
Now, there's lots of different ways to work with you, and we are running out of time, so we have to do this quickly.
Okay.
There's lots of different ways to work with you, and I think
make it
that
really
you've quite
easy.
Done a good job illustrating why a woman would want to talk to you and the benefits of working with you. I know you covered a lot of different things. The main thing is you save women a lot of time and money, because how do you do that? How do you save them time?
Well, saving them time, money, and grief is educating and empowering them. And the way that I work is I do have an at-home office in Central Toronto, but I can also work by phone or by Skype or by email. So I have clients in Calgary, in Florida, and Los Angeles, and even if you live in Toronto and you want to come into the office after your initial visit, you don't need to come in every time. We can do it by phone, so you can put your kids to bed at night and then we can talk. We can do it on the weekend. If you have lunchtime, you can do it. We don't need to schedule a whole hour. If you get a letter from your lawyer, from the mediator, and you need to talk about it right away, I say, send me a text. I'll get to you that day and we'll talk about it. And then we just keep track of time and do billing in that manner. So I try to make it as easy as possible. I know it's a very stressful time, and the last thing you need to do is say, I have to save up because I'm seeing my divorce doula on Friday and I need to spend that whole hour doing it. Now, if we end up working and it goes over an hour, I'm fine with that also. I'm not confined to that time.
Okay, so we need to tell our viewers how we can reach you. And first of all, it's www.lynn, L-Y-N-N, no E, Kaplan, K-A-P-L-A-N,
Yes.
.ca for Canada.ca. And your phone number is?
416-910-5261.
And also, Lynn has a great giveaway today for any woman who's going through a divorce or separation and has these issues or wants feedback on the legal documents, or just, needs to talk to her to get her incredible input. And that's worth $90, and that's to the first lady who calls me in at 416-802-0655 during this live broadcast. So it's 416-802-0655. It's been great having you here, Lynn. I know this is a very big topic, and there's lots more we can talk about. So
it is
perhaps
a big topic.
we could, chunk it down and do different things and have you back again. I'd very much like that. But we are out of time for today, so I have to end the show, sadly. I want to thank all my wonderful guests today. I want to thank you, the terrific viewing audience. I want to hear your feedback and your comments, because this show is for you, ladies. We'd love you to hashtag I'm Every Woman TV and share whenever you see the posts. And we'll see you next time on I'm Every Woman TV. And until then, continue to be fabulous.